And welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices. And my name is Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell. Today's topic deals with a former prisoner who is sharing his experiences in the state and private prisons. And so when we left off, Chris had him engage in a discussion. You want to continue?
Sure. So, Curtis, what I wanted to ask is when you first went, I know you really told us you went twice, but when you first went, did you go to state prison? And when did you go to the private prison?
When I first went, I went to the state prison. I went to private prison the second time I went to prison. But the first time I went to prison, I came out worse than I was before. You
Wow.
know, yeah, I did. I can honestly say that. I came
Expound
out
upon
worse.
that.
I didn't hear you.
Expound upon that.
Well, I felt like, when you go to, I went to prison for my first time, and I felt like when I got out, I felt like I had to get everything back. And the only way I knew how to get everything back was get back to the streets and get back to doing what I was doing. That was the quickest way that I knew how to get whatever I had, before. And I came out worse. I came out, I it was really about the money then when I came out the first time. I came out worse than I was, because I maybe I didn't do enough time. But I was actually worse than when I came out the first time.
So, tell us about the private prison.
Okay, when I went the second time, and when I went the second time, I kind of I knew the system a little bit, and I knew the do's and the don'ts. So when I went the second time, um, I really knew what to avoid. So I was a moderate inmate. I did the right things. I took up courses. I took up business courses. I worked my brain this time. Um, so I didn't get any write ups. And what got me to the private prison was I never got any write ups. I was doing all the right things, and they shipped me to the private prison, which is almost like a reward for not getting any write ups.
Let me ask one more question if Sharon would allow me to do so.
Okay.
Um, when you were in the private prison, when did the switch change for you to become and say, this is not the life for me? When I get out, I'm going to do something different.
Because it was so much energy, it was a lot of positive energy at that prison where I was at, because these guys, most of these guys in these private prisons, they're reforming back to society. And when I got there, you know, guys were, they were pretty much on their game. They was going to classes, they was active. So that's when I enhanced my self-education when I went to the private prison. And the private prison that I had, the library, they had a good library, they had good TV, you had satellite TV there, the food was a little better than where I had left from state. So it kind of was preparing me for when I, hit back to society.
So I'm going to be like a minister, Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
I told you it was one last question. I got another
I know we can't get you out the pulpit.
Go ahead, go ahead. You can
So
fall
um, it sounds like to me that you would be advocating for the private prison as opposed to the public state run prison. And most people would be against the private run prisons. So tell me your thought on this.
Well, for one, I advocate no prison.
Okay.
That's for one. But I would, you know, to get to these private prisons, you know, you can't have any write-ups. You know, it's things you got to do to be able to get there. You know, it was things that I had to do to get there. You know, some people just go there, you know, and they wind up being there. But for my stipulation, in order for me to get there, I had to go through the process. And I went through the process and I did all the right things to get there. So once I got there, yeah, it was a little better. It was a, you know, it was getting me adjusted to get ready to get back into society. So, no, private prisons, I wouldn't recommend no prison, but private prisons, they tend to do a little more than state prison.
Mm.
Okay.
Caleb.
I have some questions, but I will wait to the next segment and ask mine because there's only 2 minutes left. So, if you want to go ahead and
So, Curtis, you and I
Yes.
were also talking about your interest in prison reform and how what society can do to improve not the society, but the prisons can do to improve the transition process from prison back into society.
That part, I think it just really has to be in the person, you know, because you can give them, have programs, get help, you know, and I see these guys, man, you know, a lot of them programs, they don't help neither. So I think it just really has to be in the person, you know. I did some hard times, so, you know, it depends on the person. It depends on your the people who you have around you. You know, and I was just unfortunate. I was fortunate to have good people around me to process me once I got back to society. So that's what helped me. So that would be I mean, it's within the person as well, not just what they can do to help. You know, they got to be ready out here before they even get out here. You know, and a lot of guys, not to drag it on, but a lot of guys before they enter out here, you know, they're just not ready, even with the program.
Mm.
So that's my take on that.
Okay, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a break and we're going to come right back.